So you've built profiles, you've set up the board, you're ready to play the game. Let's show you how.
So I'm going to use that character I just created, Anil, and I'm going to roll. I'll roll 1, and here I've got 4.
And I'm going to step in as a facilitator now and read what's on square number 4. Now, just to remind you, Anil has an SES of 1 to 2. So for this one, the card says, head to the playground. For an SES of 1 to 2, your neighborhood cannot afford quality playground equipment. Your play area is full of hazards, and your family is often unable to supervise you. Lose 1 vitality chip. Wah, wah, wah. However, if Anil had been from a much wealthier family, say an SES of 6, the card would have read as follows. You live near a clean, safe park. You always have a caregiver to watch you play. The fresh air is good for you. Gain 1. So already we see how the disparities not only leave someone with better health in the beginning, but how someone who has a higher socioeconomic status gains health throughout their lifetime.
So on the board, there are 2 kinds of squares. So one is the individual squares we've just seen, and another are community card squares, which are represented by a star on the board. So if you should happen to land on one of them, the player who lands there picks up a card from the center and reads it aloud. And then the scenario that they read affects all the players in the community at the table. And so an example in childhood might be something like access to primary care. All gain 1. Or it might be something like global climate change is a problem. What are you going to do as a community? And so the community has to then brainstorm an intervention that will have some kind of impact on global climate change. So for example, increasing public transportation, limiting use of cars or pollution, that sort of thing. And the group as a whole has to come up with that in order to prevent losing chips from that particular community problem.
So not all the community cards are positive. In fact, a lot of them force all players to lose at least a chip or 2. We invented kind of a side rule to help with this. So if a player is about to die because of a community card, we've invented a rule that says that all the players at the table can unanimously decide to save that player by brainstorming an intervention that might help. So for example, if a player is about to die because of lack of affordable housing, if that is what's going to eat up their very last chip, all of the players can brainstorm potentially an intervention like volunteering for Habitat for Humanity, and each give that player 1 chip in order to keep that player alive a little longer. This rule doesn't apply to individual scenarios, but it does apply to the community cards, and it allows people to think through ways in which communities might help foster better health among other members within that society.
So another element of the game to be aware of as a facilitator is profile updates. And this is an opportunity for players to age as they move through scenarios in the board. So basically when they get to the end of childhood, they'll pass over this square marked P, P for profile update, and then they'll head into adolescence. Similarly between adolescence and adulthood, and between adulthood and old age. Basically on this square, or as they pass over it, facilitators will read from the guidebook and they will update certain elements of a profile. So activity level, nutrition level, smoking, education, that sort of thing. So take a look at some of these just to make sure you know how they work.
So we've showed you how to move through the game and the game's basic mechanics, but we also wanted to show you a few of the tricks we've learned after facilitating this game for the past few years. So the first tip that we have is make it fun. The point of the game is to be engaging and lighthearted, so as the facilitator, read the scenarios with gusto. Have fun yourself. Be okay with the laughter.
Another thing to keep track of is time. If you want to have a short game, you'll want to make sure to adjust the number of chips that people have or the number of dice that people are rolling with. So if you want to take more chips away, you can either do that at an individual scenario, take away 2 or 3 instead of just 1, or at a profile update, take away chips from everyone as they pass from adolescence to adulthood, for example. Or if you roll with 2 dice instead of 1, you'll move faster through the game. Be sure to try at least 2 squares in each age group just to make sure people get a sense of how their character has fared in that age group. You don't want them to move too fast through it.
So another thing that you might want to do as the facilitator to keep the game flowing smoothly is strike a balance between chat in terms of raising interesting discussion points and keeping discussion moving, and flow in terms of moving the game along and not getting stuck on particular discussion points for too long a time.
Another really important thing is to remember the power that you have as the facilitator. Especially near the end of the game, you'll want to make sure that you have at least one character who's still alive. And you'll really have a strong impact on the story as it develops because players will have only 1 or 2 chips left, and you need to make sure that at least one of them makes it all the way to the very end.
As a facilitator, you can really narrate the story as it unfolds for the rest of the game. So another really important job that you have as the facilitator is to raise discussion questions throughout the game. These questions help players reflect on the social determinants of health and reflect on what they're doing in the game and why what they're doing matters. So for example, you might ask, why do women start with fewer chips but live longer? Or why do people of lower SES keep losing chips when people of upper SES keep gaining chips? These help connect people to what the social determinants of health are and how they operate throughout a life course.
Another really important role for a facilitator is making sure that all the players at the table feel safe. Scenarios are designed to help people challenge their own ideas about social location, but that can sometimes be a difficult process or evoke difficult feelings for people. So just be aware of that as you're playing. Similarly, some of the scenarios may reflect participants' actual experiences, for example, an unwanted pregnancy or contracting a sexually transmitted disease. And people at the table may laugh and joke when these hard scenarios come up, but that person who experienced that thing may feel uncomfortable. So know that going in as a facilitator and be prepared to step in if you need to.
So we've included a detailed description of what might come up for people in the game and how you might want to diffuse difficult situations in a gentle manner in the training manual. We urge you to look at that in order to get a sense of where the game might head and how you might want to cope with it should it head in a difficult direction. We've also included a number of discussion questions that help wrap up the game. You don't have to, by any means, stick to our questions. You may want to make up questions that really reflect on your group's interest, but we do encourage you to finish the game with a discussion, helping players reflect on what they've learned and what they've gained from the game's playing.
And finally, we've included a list of resources on the social determinants of health so that you can read up a little bit on these issues if you want. We hope you've enjoyed this video. We've given you a little bit of information about how to manage the mechanics of the game, how to make it flow well, and how to promote discussion about the social determinants of health while playing the game.
Most of all, we hope you really enjoy yourself. We've had a really great time putting the game together, and we're really looking forward to the game going out into the world and helping people learn about the social determinants of health in a more grounded and fun way.
So I'm Kate.
And I'm also Kate.
And we wish you good luck and have fun.